לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת.
Hello and welcome to the Temple Podcast. My name is Antonio Reed, and I'm your host. In this episode of the Temple Podcast, we're actually going to be looking at a short clip from a debate that Alex O'Connor had with David Woods, who's a Christian apologist. And the part of the clip that we're actually going to be looking at is one of the questions that's served up for Alex by a Christian commentator and apologist named Godlogic. Now, Godlogic is a very popular Christian commentator. I've actually been on his show a number of times. But the reason why I wanted to pull this up because the question he has is very interesting. It is very striking, and Alex completely collapses in his attempt to respond to what God Logic is saying. I think that's in part because Alex is a secular biblical commentator. He's not Jewish. He's not educated in the Tanakh. He's not educated in the Torah. He's not educated from the perspective of an Orthodox Jew or even a Reformed Jew. And so I think that adds to his level of difficulty in his ability to respond to this question. But that's enough said here. Let's take a look and see what God Logic has to say.
So this is a question for Alex, man. How you doing, man?
Hey,
You mentioned
Godlogic.
yes, yes, sir. You mentioned in Hebrews 1 where God is speaking. Or God spoke to our through prophets. Now He speaks to us through His Son, and you're saying, where was Jesus then? Back then He should have been active, and so. Regarding Hebrews, I just want to read you this and get your thoughts on this, okay? It's Hebrews 11. Regarding Moses, it says, by faith, Moses, and I'm going to just skip down to 25 and 26 for time, choosing rather to be mistreated with the people of God than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin, he considered the reproach of Christ greater wealth than the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking to the reward. So how is it that Moses can be considering Christ's disapproval if Christ wasn't around for him to disapprove?
That's absolutely incredible. The question that Mr. Godlogic asked Alex O'Connor. And the reason why that's incredible is because the first way I would respond is that we have to contextualize what's being put forth by the author of the book of Hebrews. The author of the book of Hebrews is engaged in the most systematic and sophisticated attack upon the continuation of Judaism in the New Testament. And as part of the attack that the author of the book of Hebrews is launching upon Judaism, is this narrative device that Moses somehow looked forward and saw the death of Jesus Christ. But there's nothing like that in the Hebrew Bible. And I would challenge any Christian to point out any verse that suggests that Moses knew that the Roman prefect Pontius Pilate would chastise Jesus and then make him crucify him upon Mount Golgotha an excruciating death. There's nothing like that. So what in fact is happening here, and it's not Godlogic's fault. He simply either isn't aware of this or he's just quoting verbatim what the book of Hebrews says and taking the book of Hebrews at face value without looking up the required text. And if you look up the required text and look at all the times that Moses is in dialogue either with God or with the Jewish people, the nation of Israel, never once does he mention anything like the Messiah dying, being chastised, and then dying on the Roman cross, and then rising on the third day, and then comparing that to the riches of Egypt. There's simply nothing like that in the entirety of the Hebrew Bible. This is spurious history. This is helicopter hermeneutics. This is completely irrelevant to what's going on in the Hebrew Bible, but nonetheless, this is the sort of argument. And as we go through this channel, we'll look at the book of Hebrews in more detail and deeper analysis, and you'll see that this is not the first and last time that the book of Hebrews and other authors in the New Testament, in the Christian Bible, will completely make up fallacious and totally erroneous texts in order or statements to advance their arguments, like what we have here in Hebrews 11:26. And this is not the only time that such a thing is referenced. Throughout the Gospels themselves, Jesus will say, you had believed in me if you had believed in Moses, because Moses knew me. Moses spoke about me. But again, if you go to the Hebrew Bible, if you go to the Torah, you will see that Moses mentions nothing like a figure that is described in the New Testament. And therefore, although Godlogic's name is Godlogic, this is completely illogical, this is completely ahistorical, and has nothing to do with the biblical text.